Hey guys, this is going to be the recording for lesson 1.5 as promised. Some of you hated my guts and did not like lesson 1.5 because the simulation was kind of tricky, and I get that. So what I provide to you is me doing each mission here shortly in this simulation. But before then, you needed to do the warm-up and amplify. And the warm-up had you going back to the idea of friction, which you learned in last lesson. We read that article about hockey and why ice hockey is played on ice instead of carpet, and how friction can slow objects down and even stop them from moving. And we're trying to relate all of these ideas to our space pod and why it didn't dock and all of that. And so hopefully you're kind of thinking about that while we go through all of these things. And so the definition of friction is right here in case you forgot. So force between an object and the surface it's moving over. And it gives you a scenario. So you are imagining that a book is sliding over a slippery surface. And then also, again, that same book would go over a rougher surface that exerts friction. And so there's two questions here, kind of thinking about velocity and which book will have a greater velocity. And so answer that and click the purple hand in button that my face is covering right now. And the next thing was the mission. So the simulation had 8 missions that it wanted you to accomplish. And then in activity 2 of Amplify, you kind of had to record what each mission was as far as what happened, how you accomplished the mission, and all of that. You can also see that I hyperlinked the simulation here for you. And then I actually ended up cutting out the modeling tool for 3rd hour, 5th hour. Some of you got to it, but I'm not too worried about it because we are going to come back to this idea again. And also the simulation kind of goes over the same idea. So if you kind of understand the simulation, then the modeling tool is just kind of extra practice. But I mean, if you're feeling it, go ahead. But I know that the simulation was kind of a lot for some of you, so I get it. I hear you. So I'm going to attempt each mission. And if you remember from class, in the top left corner, that is where the drop-down menu is, and each one of the missions are there. So mission 1. Our goal is to hit the target with a horizontal velocity of 2 centimeters a second and exerting a force only once. Here's what I said in class. Exerting a force only once does not mean that you are clicking the arrow only once. It means you are exerting only one direction. Because remember, clicking the arrows makes that force stronger or weaker, does not create a new force. And so some of you were getting confused. You're like, well, I can only click it once because it's only one force. You can click it more than once in the same direction. So when we run it and we prepare the force, it wants us to get it here at that speed. If you are unsure, it has some data over here, which is on your Analyze button, but I'm going to click twice, and that is getting the speed I need. And so you can see that when you are successful with your mission, that target opens up and swallows it. And so that was mission 1. I will redo it very quickly. So I prepared my force. I clicked my right arrow twice, and then I exerted that force and swallowed on up. So that was mission 1. So for mission 2, I'm going to go back to here so we can see the goal. I have to hit the horizontal target with a velocity of 6 centimeters a second by exerting the force only once. I can see that there's already velocity going off of this, but I'm thinking that that's not going to be enough to meet 6 centimeters a second. So I'm thinking I'm going to have to make it go faster. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to speed up my force. So I ended up, and I'll show you again, clicking my force 1, 2, 3, 4 times. And I exerted, and that created enough speed for it to go in the target at the speed it wanted. So this is mission 3, and you can see that to achieve my goal, I have to hit the target with a horizontal velocity of -2. So that's telling me that by looking at these blue lines, it's already moving, and I'm going to have to exert a force in the opposite direction. So when I click, I'm going to go in the opposite. 1, 2, 3. There we go. So 3 moving in the right direction, so that would be against the way that it was moving. For mission 4, my goal is to hit the target by having a velocity of 0. So that tells me I'm going to have to create enough force in the opposite direction because this is already moving with a lot of speed. So that's telling me I'm going to have to click the opposite direction, and I'm going to have to click it probably a good 3 to 4 times. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Oops. Oh. Let me redo that one. I clicked too fast. So when I prepare my force, I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, and see what happens. So I did 4 and it's still moving. It's moving a lot slower though. So I have a feeling if I do one more, which would be my 5th one, probably going to land in the target if I wait till now. There we go. So let me redo that. I'll let it kind of move while I redo it. So it's going. I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. There we go. So 5 in the opposite direction. Got that for mission 4. Alrighty, for mission 5, this one is tricky. So we are hitting this target with a velocity of 2 centimeters, which sounds easy, but there's a trick. So when I run it, my initial thought was I was thinking, it looks like it's already going 2 centimeters, but it doesn't take it. So then I exerted force backwards, and realized that it's going to have to go over the target before it goes in. And so I'm going to do that again for you. It didn't go in that time. I think it was 5 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There we go. So you have to let it pass over the target and then click in the opposite direction. So I will do that one more time because that one's tricky. So it's already traveling, and I thought it was at 2 centimeters, but it didn't look like it. So then I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And it travels back over, and there it goes. So that was mission 5. All right, for mission 6, the goal is to hit this target with a velocity of -4 by exerting a force only once. A few things that were tricky about this. When you see -4, you probably think that that means to go way slow. But what that actually means is we're going in this direction. Think about a number line. We have our positive numbers to the right and our negative numbers to the left. And so we are moving to the left in pretty much 4. And the other thing that's kind of tricky, but you probably figured out, is that the amount of clicks that you have matches the number. So when I want to move -4, that tells me I'm going to have to click 4 times. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. And that's going to get it in the target. So for mission 7, I am going to hit this at a velocity of 3 by exerting a force only once. What I see is that this is moving way faster than 3, so I'm probably going to have to prepare a force in the opposite direction. And it's still going way too fast, so I'm probably going to have to click it probably 3 times. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, and we'll see if that is enough. It might only need 2. Nope, that was enough. So I clicked in the opposite direction. It was going this way, so I clicked the opposite 3 times. For the last mission, mission 8, it wants me to hit the target with a velocity of -1, which means it would have to be going this way. So I'm going to have to let it pass over the target and then come backwards. All right, so to make this happen, I'm going to have to run it and I'm going to have to let it pass over. And I'm going to click 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and hit it back in this direction at -1. I'll do that one more time. So it's moving over pretty fast and I hit 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And there we go. For each mission, once you complete it, you're going to see that you needed to put in the change to the velocity. Either you sped it up, you slowed it down, whichever motion you did. Most of them, well, actually, they were all different. And then the direction. Which arrow did you click? Did you click the left arrow, the up, down, the right arrow? We actually did not click the up or down arrow at all. So it's either right or left. The strength is the amount of times that you clicked. So did you click 4 times, 5 times, however many times you clicked that arrow? Change in velocity is actually measured in the simulation. So if you go to analyze up here, that change is measured for you. So you just have to look here and so it's -5. Okay. I don't want to give you those answers because I just did all of the missions for you. So I'll kind of have you figure that part out. And then there's questions for you to answer. And make sure you do all missions, all 8 of them. And remember, you do not need to worry about the modeling tool, which is activity 3.